Hi, this is Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Wednesday, July 25th, 2007. The one on the top there is Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and she's just landed herself in a new big scandal that we're going to describe to you in today's episode. Now, Murkowski inherited her Senate seat from her father back in 2002. Now you ask, how do you inherit a Senate seat from your father? Well, it happened like this in her case. Her father was Senator Frank Murkowski. Now, Murkowski in 2002 ran for governor. He won the governor's seat, and when he became governor, he had to resign from the Senate, and that, as governor, left him to be able to appoint the next senator. So he appointed his daughter. Now, she did win the seat in her own right in 2004, and so she's now about 2.5 years into her own first term as senator from Alaska. Now, Senator Murkowski is big buds with this guy, Bob Penny. He's a big businessman and salmon fishing activist in the state of Alaska, and his MO seems to be getting into sweetheart business deals with senators from Alaska. 2 of those deals have actually already landed him in the middle of the investigation of Alaska's other senator, Senator Stevens, but we're going to set that aside for the moment and focus on what Bob Penny is really known for, and that's running something called the Kenai Classic every year, which takes place in July and is where a bunch of politicians from Washington go up to salmon fish and hang out with lobbyists and generally do a lot of influence peddling. Now that right there is Senator Murkowski with a 61-pound king salmon she caught at the Classic last year in 2006. It was the second biggest fish caught that year. Now, Bob Penny liked Murkowski so much, maybe it was because she caught this huge fish, I don't know, but liked her so much that he went to her and said he'd like her and her husband to live next door to him on the river. So he offered to sell her and her husband the plot of land for half price. Now, if you're a senator, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to get a sweetheart deal like that from a businessman or a lobbyist, getting something for much less than its true market value. Remember, that's what got Duke Cunningham in all that trouble. Now, what the Murkowskis and Penny say is that they bought the land at its true assessed value. The problem is when our reporter, Laura McGann, talked to real estate experts in the area, they said that the real market value of the land was about twice the assessed value, i.e. about twice what Murkowski bought it for. Okay, so let's put some numbers to this. The Murkowskis bought this piece of land for $170,000 and change. The experts we spoke to in the area said the real value of the land was probably at least $300,000, maybe as much as $350,000 or even more. So let's say conservatively that this amounted to a gift from Bob Penny to the Murkowskis of well over $100,000, maybe as much as $200,000, maybe even more. You're not allowed to give a gift like that to a senator. Now, as I said before, TPMmuckraker's Laura McGann broke this story about a week ago at TPMmuckraker.com. And when she was looking into this story, investigating it, she noticed that on Senator Murkowski's disclosure forms, a bunch of the digits were left off and things that were supposed to be checked weren't checked. It seemed pretty clear that whoever filled out the disclosure form realized there might be a problem with this deal and wanted to kick up as much dust as possible to prevent anybody from finding out what had happened. But a fudged disclosure form was not nearly enough to prevent Laura McGann from breaking this story. Her story ran about a week and a half ago, and a couple days later it got picked up by the Anchorage Daily News, which is the big paper in the state. And from there, it really took off. Now, when the Anchorage Daily News caught up with Penny, he said he just didn't know how much the land was worth. Quote, "Word of honor, I didn't know what the assessed value was. I thought it was still $120,000. But Penny said something very different only a few months before when he had this testimony to the Alaska State Legislature. Listen.
The economic value of the land along the Kenai River privately held from Ski Lac to Ames Bridge. 3 years ago, the assessed value to the borough of only the privately owned land was $335 million. As Mr. Busey said to you, it's increased since then. Now, I know it's well over 500. We haven't seen what the borough's assessed it. But gentlemen and ma'am, all that assessment and value came from one reason, because there's fish in the river. And you put the fish in the river, and you put the fish in the inlet, and you give the opportunity for the public, you see the economic engine run hard.
All right, so that excuse of Bob Penny's didn't pan out too well. He was telling folks only a few months ago that he knew the value of the land was skyrocketing. So later in the week, as things got worse and worse for the Murkowskis, Murkowski's husband went on a local talk radio to explain their case. Now, when Senator Murkowski's husband went on the radio, he said they didn't think there was any problem with the price either. But there's something his wife said at the time of the sale that makes it look like she knew there was a problem.
Did you overpay? Did you underpay?
Well, you know, we've talked with Bob about this for about a little over a year. And, you know, when he said, you know, hey, you guys, you know, if you're really interested in living down here, you know, I've got a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said, sure.
Lisa said no.
And Lisa said, you know, yeah, there might be some issues here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, when we signed the loan, Lisa signed on it and said, you know, this might come back to bite us. I said, well, you know, we'll deal with that when it comes.
Yeah, because it's, honey, we got a lot on the Kenai.
Yeah, we and there aren't very many of them. You know, because of what's happened, we'll probably go through an ethics investigation on this. And
that's ridiculous.
So there you have it. A wealthy businessman gives a sitting senator $100,000, $200,000 gift, just being a nice guy, neighborly, something like that. We're going to keep looking into this case. If you know about a senator or representative in your neck of the woods who's got some sweetheart deal, maybe a piece of land he bought from 10 bucks, 20 bucks from a wealthy lobbyist, something like that, let us know. We'll get to the heart of that too. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.